Welcome everyone. In this video we'll be talking about price action. So here laid out already I have SPY, and the first thing about price action we'll talk about is support and resistance. So let's zoom into this area right here because this is a perfect example. So this is a tight period of consolidation, but these 2 points here can be considered support and resistances. So here already we have marked out the 78.7, which is a resistance, because you can see that price reached this area, the candles hit, and have hit here more than once. So I like to go by the rule of 2 to 3. So anytime there's 2 to 3 rejections or areas, that can be considered a support resistance. An important thing to notate is that we are on the 4 hour, so anytime that you're on the higher time frames, these are stronger support and resistances. So let's move into about the daily and plot some areas. So just by looking here, you can notice the trend line as well. So trend lines are part of price action, and trend lines are any time that that price bounces off this a certain area, and they can be set at different angles. So this is technically a channel because it is in between these two channels here. You can see that they hit the top of the trend line and then ultimately draw back, and it stays between these two parallel areas. So it's important to note that anytime you're on the smaller time frame, so if you're plotting support and resistances, these are and can act as support and resistances, but they will not be as strong as the higher time frames. So let's look at another example. Let's just type in McDonald's. Let's make sure we go to a higher time frame. So this is another good example of a trend line. So you can see that there's this kind of little pattern here that follows, and you just see that price bounces off this area, and it's kind of like at a steep angle, and you can see on the top part here. So you could actually chart a trend line in a channel here. Once again, talking about support and resistance, you can see that around this 270 level that the price struggles to get through it. And support and resistances are not always 100%. They're typically supply and demand zones. So they're areas that may or may not affect the price. So let's just chart out this resistance here. So it's around 270. So to do that, add a drawing, put a price level. So around 270. And that's a very crucial psychological level as well. And then you can see that there is a support around this area right here. Remember the 2 to 3 rule. So you can see that price does not go much lower, and if it did, it didn't. It shot back. So that is this area right here. 266 is an important support as well, since we're on the 4 hour. Let's move it in to the 15-minute. So let me try and find an example. So remember the 2 to 3 that I was talking about? Here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 at this 256 area. But since we are on a smaller time frame, ultimately these support and resistances aren't as strong. So you can see that eventually, let me go further down the line, that it breaks past that level. And thank you.